Welcome everyone to Voice of the Terminus Tavern Talk, episode number 13. I'm joined today by Lex. Say hello, Lex.
Hello.
And we're here with Kodiak. Say hello, Kodiak.
Good afternoon.
And today's topics are, of course, the VR and Pantheon news. Then we have the November newsletter, and we're going to briefly touch over. Then we have the forum hot topics. We're going to talk about, quickly, gloss over the lore glossary that was posted recently. And we're going to talk about censorship, a topic Lex has picked out for us to talk about today. And then we have, obviously, the latest screenshots, and there are quite a few that were posted. And, obviously, the news. So, let's go and kick it off with the VR and Pantheon news. Lex?
Yep, so our first tweet was on November 10th. If you stumble upon this table deep in a dungeon with no owner in sight, what would you do? Our very own Yanela says, I would take the rug from underneath the table and table home with me. And I think he was the only person to realize there was actually a rug underneath the table, because I didn't see it. Thomas Bell says, depends on if I have time to cast, look around, sit and rest, steal, or danger is near. What would you do? TK says, I would read that book and hope it adds skill buttons to my MacBook Pro touch bar and Pantheon for Mac. See what I did there? I see what you did. Adam Evans says, see if there is a food and drink, or if there is food and drink. If it is, eat it and roll out. Murma says, it's a trap! Which it probably is. Burger King says, sit at the desk, prepare writing materials, write a very strongly worded letter on the importance of desk maintenance. Sounds like you might be Canadian. Frogzor, our very own Frogzor says, I'd be checking everything on the table, but especially the books. Might be something interesting like a hidden quest starter. Good idea. Drunkmeister says, honestly, I'd probably run right by it, which is what most of us are going to do. I wouldn't at all. Don Strimback says, waiting for the owners to come back and see what loot they have. I like that one. Oh, God. Mokarade, I'm sorry. Read the books. Rez says, I would sit down, pull out a deck of cards, and wait for someone to show up. Some fool named Lexer says, take all the things. The MMO dude says, I'd sit down at the table with my pal who no-lifes every game that we play and have him explain the game to us. We all have that one friend. Somnia Lunatica says, dance on it. Obviously, I want to be in their group. And there's probably a lot more tweets.
Yep.
When I see that, I think of like Skyrim, running through a dungeon and you go and search everything, because you don't know what loot you're going to find or whatever. So that's what I think if I was to see a table in a dungeon. Like I said, it's not like seeing a forge. A forge has a purpose, but just seeing a random table, you would just go over there and search it. Maybe, like you said, a book to read, give you a +1 on skill level or something. Who knows?
It's a perfect place for a perception quest.
Absolutely.
You could be like, you come along, you're running down this dungeon, and all of a sudden perception kicks in. These books look kind of odd and everything, and then you move the books, and it relieves a pressure lever, and all of a sudden you hear rumbling, and a door opens up somewhere, a hidden cavern or something.
Yeah.
It's very suspicious.
I'm of the same camp. I'm of the same camp as Kodiak. I mean, it screams a lot of Elder Scrolls Online or just Elder Scrolls in general. Yeah. But here's the problem I have. Games like that turn me into a hoarder. Straight out, no holds barred. I'm a hoarder. I will do everything.
Yep. I click everything. Everything in that game.
I become a klepto in those games. I mean, I don't care if I see a wheel of cheese 4 miles away. It's there. No one has it claimed. It's mine now. So while it's wonderful to have that kind of stuff, oh dear God, it will kill me.
All right, so the next...
That actually brings up a... Well, sorry, I'm going to talk about something where you started about perception, right? It actually makes it... Because, like, when they got close to that pillar and that perception came up, like, oh, this looks old, and they found the key, right? I wonder if they're going to set it up so that maybe you do have to click on that table first before the perception comes up, not just as you get close to the table. You know, like different ways to introduce a perception rather than just being in the general area and then a perception goes off.
Right.
Yeah,
or they could just give you a very general just proximity perception alert to be like, there's something strange on the table, and then you click stuff, and then, oh, look, this happens. Because otherwise, I'm gonna walk around everywhere just clicking like mad, and it's like,
yeah, but it could also
click all the things.
It could also be that way, though. You know that if you don't click it, you're not going to activate the perception quest. You might. Or there could
be a trap door under that rug, and you click on it, and you fall to your death. So if Darnilla hadn't taken the rug, we wouldn't have seen the false door on the floor.
Exactly.
All of a sudden, you see and shout. Or zone-wide chat, a stream of curse words. Well, Lexer fell down another trapdoor.
Yeah, see, and that's why we complete each other. Everybody has their role in our group. So let's go move on to the next tweet, and that was tweeted on the 14th of November. Has there ever been a feature that you felt would be more enjoyable if one aspect was changed slightly? TK said to this may sound silly, but cloth simulation is required for me to play a caster now. Rigid robes look terrible in 2016. Dobie Gillis, if bards were forced into a guitar hero like Button Mash, I would be a bit more impressed when they tried to twist. Hero of Pixels, playing a monk that has tons of fluid, kung fu, acrobatic animations is 1,000 times better than a monk that's idly punching. Frogzor said, of course, there's always something. That's life. LOL. Streak, all the time, but things sound good in theory, don't always work out as well in practice. Trial and error is the only way. And Vaz, and Vaz said, gank insurance. If I have insurance, the person who tries to gank me dies. If a ganker has gank insurance and tries to gank, they die because where is the fairness of a ganker having gank insurance when ganking? Wow, that's a lot of ganking, dude.
Right, that sounds like a Geico commercial to me.
Exactly, yeah.
That's a lot of gank.
I mean,
I think Raz is just razzing people on that one.
Yeah. Now, like I said, when we were going over these, I was like, wait a minute, there was a similar question to that, like on Facebook, and I know that you don't copy these over from Facebook. So I quickly went on to Facebook and I just grabbed some ideas that other people had put on. I didn't write down their names, so sorry for people that I'm not going to mention. But one of the ideas that they would change slightly is mounts. And I know we've talked about this before, having a purpose, not just for pixels, static spawn points was another one that somebody mentioned on Facebook. Language, and I actually really agree with this when it comes to languages. I think there shouldn't be a common tongue, because it defeats the purpose of having to learn other languages. So if they implement languages, don't have a common tongue. Make us, learn other languages. Somebody mentioned something about diplomacy and more GM events. So those are kind of just little tiny tidbits that I picked out of the 170 comments on Facebook about that same question.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look at every single game, or even MMO or game in general. There's always been something where everyone would think if they were to change this, it would make it so much more enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
The hard part is trying to find what's going to be enjoyable for us.
Yeah, there's a common ground for everyone.
Yeah, like everything that Kodiak has got from Facebook, I love it. I hate useless mounts that are basically just, you move faster.
Yeah.
While if I have a saddlebag, why can't I use it for a little bit of storage? Not a lot, just a little bit. Languages, that just makes freaking sense. Now, if you have a couple races that are in the same area, then just start that race with a high, not max, but a higher understanding of that language. For example, if the elves and the humans start near each other, well, they can still have their own language, but the elves would start off with like 50 out of 100 human language, and vice versa for humans. So you can still understand them because you're in that area together. You're sharing a common space, but you don't live amongst them, so you're not going to be completely fluent. So I mean, that makes complete sense to me. I would love to see that change.
Yeah, I would love to see, language. As we talked about language on our shows, having different languages, having to learn them. I like to see a different approach on how you learn a language. Make it an actual skill that you skill by. So the more time you spend in, the Elven City, and you pick up on words that they're saying. Yeah, so you start linking words together, so you skill up, and once you've reached a certain amount of words that you've got to know and understand, that's how you gain the actual language into it.
I just thought so because you guys were always talking about like the tavern, right? So you go into that city, you hang out in the tavern, all these conversations going on around you, and that's how kind of you're picking up, words here and there. It's an easy way to.
If you think about it, in every language, even in real life, on the whole entire planet, every language, there's always going to be a certain word that you're going to pick up on that is similar to how it is in your language. It's how language has evolved over the years. There's common words that we understand from different languages, and that's
like no.
and stuff like that. Obviously, but no has actually different meanings. For some cultures it means yes, and for other cultures it means something completely different. But that's the kind of thing, have it skill based. I would love to see it skill based. If
anyone has a piece of paper and a pen, please make a note because my desk is a mess and I can't find anything right now. But for a future episode, let's do how do we make learning languages fun? Because I just got an idea for like a mini game where it is skill based, but you still have a mini game to boost it up.
Okay.
Yeah. So the consensus was on that whoever posted that or whatever is that having a common tongue defeats the purpose of learning languages.
While it's handy, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Correct.
Whereas saying I understand most of what the elves say because they're next door, that makes sense. So is it? But then you run into the risk of, is it fair to say that all these good races start next to each other and know each other's languages, thereby increasing their player pool, from low levels, whereas say in EverQuest 1, the evil races were fairly spread out, to be honest, and their player pool for leveling up in lower levels was very slim. Is it fair? It's one of those things where it's like, no, but is it worth the immersion that the alternative can bring? It's interesting just on the face of it. And if you look at a lot of the other tweets here, like the monk with fluid kung fu and acrobatic animations, that screams immersion to me. I never played a monk because they were just blah, like, oh, look, he spins a little bit. Ooh, he punches. Woo, big deal. He kicks. I can kick too. But if you make them feel acrobatic, like just a pleasure to watch, not only does that increase your level of enjoyment straight out because you love to watch your character do stuff because in a lot of people's minds your character is you, but it's also adding immersion because as a monk you can do things no one else can do.
Yep, definitely. So we'll have to keep a note on what you suggested with the languages. I'm sure there's a lot we can talk about on that. So let's go move over now to the newsletter for this month, November. We're going to briefly go over it. VR basically brought it up. Oops, go back to the intro. Obviously, for those that maybe missed it, Brad and Corey were at Unity 2016 and they showed off a bit of Pantheon. And they were kind enough to reinitiate a link into the newsletter for everybody to watch. And straight after that, CM Jason Madaki Bolton had the chance to get together with the senior designer Corey Lefevre and do an interview and get an inside look into the day-to-day at Visionary Realms with him and how he works his magic. And Kilsin did another community interview with Dolan. So, you guys should go and read those interviews and rewatch the stream from VR. That was basically the newsletter for this month. Not a lot in there, but these guys are busy, very busy, getting to the next stage, so we can hopefully soon get in.
I was hoping for a new class, but
yeah. we need a class reveal, VR,
or more lore, or another,
or that, or add even more. Give us some more updates on the bug fixes.
Yeah, the patch notes were cool. Yeah. The patch notes are cool.
Yeah. So if you're watching this VR, people are asking, they're shouting, they're screaming for another class reveal. I'm sure you've got something up your sleeve that you can reveal maybe next month. December, maybe do 2 as a special treat for Christmas.
Yeah.
Or do.
I'm almost tempted to be like, VR, if you can give us another class reveal in the next 2 weeks, I'll do a handstand on stream for 2 minutes straight. But then I'd have to learn how to do a handstand. So that wouldn't work.
Awesome. So next one, forum hot topics, and we kind of selected the lore glossary that was posted by Coach because he came up with this. I think it was yesterday, wasn't it, when he posted it? And it was pretty cool what Coach has done here. He's basically gone ahead and took the time to kind of make like a kind of dictionary, glossary translation of the lore completely. And he's put a lot of effort into it, as you can see here. I'm going to just quickly scroll through this. He's alphabetically, he's taken all the words, all the names from the lore and descriptions, and put it in there. Awesome job, dude.
Good job, yeah.
Nice.
Very well done.
That's fantastic. So people,
I'm sure a lot of people, fan sites are going to be, coming back to that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're going to be the only fan site that can actually officially have it up because Coach is one of us. So we're going to put that on we're going to put that on our website as well for everybody to access. Really cool stuff. Cool beans, Coach. Fantastic job. So the next topic is censorship, and I'm going to let Mr. Lexa introduce this one because he's the one who picked this topic today. It's very touchy. It's definitely a hot topic. So
I don't think it's that touchy.
It's touchy for some. It's not touchy for others.
The hot topic is basically, I hate to ask, but can we expect serious player moderation? And this was posted by Zootastic. And it's definitely interesting. I'm going to quickly just go and fly over what he posted, and then we'll let Lex get into it. So Zootastic said, I just watched a Twitch streamer playing AA. I noticed in the faction chat someone describing how the friend they played with had just died of cancer. With no hesitation, the faction chat responded with heckling, trolling and ridiculing. It was mind-numbing to see. I mentioned it in the stream chat, and of course a number of the other viewers trolled right back that what did I expect? It's the internet. And people should know better than to say things like that in general chat, and so forth. Well, aside from the obvious, that playing a game is not the general internet. You do not expect to be subjected to such mindless and disgusting individuals in a product you may pay for, more or less see them allowed to proceed with no penalty, ban or removal. These types of outbursts in games of the past were directly dealt with and were covered by EULAs. There were methods to report their conversation and they would be dealt with, but modern games do not seem to give a care what is said, no matter how racist, bigoted, misogynistic and otherwise it may be. Obviously, tracking this type of behaviour for large games with thousands of players is a chore. But personally I have little interest in playing any game that lets these type of players exist and this kind of hate speech to be the norm. What can I expect of Pantheon in regardless to this currently common activity in modern MMO gaming? And it was touch and go for this topic. There was a lot of back and forth from the community. So, Lex, introduce it and tell us why this topic.
This is something that, it's going to affect a lot of us. Actually, it's going to affect every single one of us. How far do you take censorship? When does it become a matter of you're stepping on my rights versus protecting the rights of others? You really have no win situation here, because that line is different for every person. For me, as an example, I can make sexual remarks to people and they can make it right back to me, because that's just, there's no restriction to what my friends say to me, because we try to just shock each other. Like, whoa, oh my God, and we laugh it off. But that's not how, say, Kodiak considers a good conversation. You might consider that offensive. So it's very touchy when you start enforcing your own standards onto something as general as this. But on the flip side, no one wants to deal with hate, especially when you're there to have fun. Hate isn't fun. This is coming from a guy who has played the most evil races possible every single time. I talk about eating gnomes, kicking dwarves, but in the end, when it comes down to me interacting with another player, I make sure they know that it's all in jest. It's not anything against them. It might be against their character, but it won't be against them.
I mean, the thing is, Lex, the written word is always going to be, a touchy thing, because what I write down as a written word, and my sentence might, for me personally, it might not have come across as being a bigot or being evil or nasty towards somebody.
There's no inflection to the words. There's no context, really. It's all just a matter of you take it how you want to take it. We can use as an example this morning. We were all talking in our show chat about this morning. We thought Kodiak was having a rough day because it just came off as a little agitated. Well, he wasn't, because you can't. There's no kind of inflection. We have no context, nothing. We just have to assume. And the assume is, I know people are tired of hearing this because you've heard it ever since you were a kid, but assuming makes an ass out of you and me, because that's exactly what's in assume.
Yep.
But that's the fact.
I just think that as long as they have, basically one word, ignore. I'm going to ignore anybody that says something that I don't agree with, right? And they have a profanity filter, because it's different, me playing, because my kids play with me too, right? So I don't want my 12-year-old, to have, bad words going across his screen too. So on his account, I'm going to have that profanity filter. I mean, I probably say worse things than whatever, but it's still, you don't want to subject your children to that, whatever. So I would definitely have that, profanity filter enabled on his account,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I mean, that makes perfect sense. It comes down to whatever you're saying, use the appropriate channel. Because, like with the example that was made by Zootastic here, the person that had every right to talk about his buddy who, I'm sorry, died of cancer, and very sorry to hear it. But when you post that in a general chat channel, you're making your business my business.
Yeah, you're putting it out there.
And now, while personally, myself, I'm cool with that. That doesn't bother me. I'd be like, I'm sorry to hear it, but in the end, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm going to continue on my merry way in quest.
Well, the thing is, though, with them, I can understand why the people or that person brought it up in general chat, because they're talking about a fellow gamer, a fellow player who played this game, and we all as gamers feel connected to one another, regardless where we're from, where we're playing, what server regardless, we're all in this together, we're playing this common game, and people tend to share stuff related to that game. It's like on one of our very first shows, we got to discussing about something similar. Some player died and as a tribute to this person in game on a PvP server, it has to be noted, on a PvP server, the guild got together and they basically did a in-game funeral for them. This other guild found out about these guys, doing this ceremony, and they got raided. It wasn't a very nice thing to do because they were paying respects for this person that just passed away. But being on a PvP server, some people take it overboard and they got raided. A GM had to come in and stop it because they got really upset about it. They were trying to play their respects. And I've even witnessed events happening in-game and people talking about people passing away. I've actually known a few people that have passed away in-game. We talked about it, this, that, and the other. So it affects all of us. And, profanity filter and having, the ignore button. And the thing is, the way I see it, we're going to have a similar community to what we have in EverQuest and EverQuest 2, what we witnessed in Landmark. You're going to have the odd troll here and there and the odd bigot here and there, but the general consensus for the community is going to be respectful, kind, open-hearted, is what I really think is what we're going to get here in Pantheon. There's no other. I have never met a better community than what I've witnessed in EverQuest 2 or in EverQuest or in Landmark.
See, that's the main thing. It's going to come down to community and what we're going to tolerate as a community, right? Because if you have people that are out there, because this is the whole thing when we say community matters, and we want your to be like, oh, I remember that guy, he's an asshole, or I remember that guy, oh, he's a hell cool to group with, or he's a good tank, or whatever, so that way your name has meaning behind it when other people talk about you, and that's the thing. I think that by with the longevity of these games, if you're playing a single character and building up a reputation for yourself, people are going to know that guy's a dick, or that guy's, you know what I mean? Like, I know, I'm sorry. Not trying.
I was that person.
You know what I mean?
We had this guy who was famous on Valor, on the server Valor for EverQuest 2 when it got first released. He was called White Elf on the German servers. He became world famous in a matter of months because this dude was on 24/7. I am not kidding. He was on 24/7. He was the first one to level 50. He achieved everything in a very short period of time, and people spoke about him constantly in general chat. White Elf was a very famous person in EverQuest 2 on our German server, and that's how it happens. People want to be remembered, and people start to talk about guilds, people, events, stuff like that. We want to share these experiences and express it in general chat. I'm thinking that basically they didn't think anything of it posting that in general chat when they put it out there. They thought basically, hey, this is the community where this guy was playing and he's passed away. I want to go and let everybody know about it without thinking about the consequences. But
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you always run the risk if you put it onto a public forum, general chat, just a public internet forum, that you're going to put yourself up there to basically get tomatoes thrown at you. But when it comes down to the community, all we can do is we can distance ourselves from the bad element, using ignore, using filters, just ignoring them. But on the other side, we also have to kind of extend our support to the person that's the target of that. Now, I'm not saying stand up in general chat and just go on a troll hunt, because that doesn't accomplish a damn thing. Send people a tell. It's all about being a good community. Send the person a tell. Tell them that you're sorry they're dealing with this stuff. We're sorry to hear this. Just don't let it get to you.
There's a second post basically that I want to quickly bring up because it's kind of spot on, and this is from Raiden. Honestly, I'm tired of the PC world. I don't want terrible personal attacks in game, but I don't want over moderation either. Unfortunately, and this is where he's on the ball. People are people, whether you buy in or not. My thoughts are people on the whole today are generally more disrespectful overall, not just on the internet. Just look how many common courtesies don't occur anymore or are expected if they do without a thanks, like holding a door open for someone. And that's what it comes down to. We today,
Respect.
as people, have lost our common decency, our respect to one another, and that's what it is. It's got nothing to do with trolls on the internet or anything like that. It's our behaviour pattern that has, made it become what it is today. And he's absolutely right with the PC world as well. Touchy subject, I know everybody, but I am fed up with the PC world. There's only so much one can tolerate. There has to be a limit of where we stop.
There's only so many eggshells you can walk on.
And, being PC doesn't necessarily mean you're a good person. No, you're hiding away behind it. And why are you laughing, Cody? What's the matter, dude?
That was like, they should make safe spaces. Sorry.
Well, I mean, granted, everyone is entitled to their own little safe bubble. But the fact of the matter is, the world is not a safe place.
Exactly.
It comes up to us, the community, to make it a good community. We can't just jump in the game and assume it's going to be a good community. If you want Pantheon to last, you want it to be a good experience for everybody, then we have to act like it. Plain and simple.
Yep. Exactly. That's what it comes down to. It's us. I see it in you see it in everyday life. I remember people, younger people standing up in the bus for older people and stuff like that. It doesn't happen anymore. It does not happen. And all you see nowadays in the news or hear or read about or witness yourself is people beating up other people just because they don't like someone. And I don't, and I can understand the pros and cons to, should we have player moderation or not. There's a good example as, I'm paying money. I don't want to be told what I can and cannot say, yada yada yada. There's definitely merit to that, but on the other way as well, it doesn't mean you can behave like a complete idiot and run your mouth.
So you have to be respectful to other people too.
Right.
Where do you think how? Like I said, the easiest thing is you've got the profanity filter and you've got the ignore button. There's nothing more really that they could really do, because we all know freedom of speech is allowed. And if they take away that freedom, especially with the written word, because it's like I could read through now the text that's coming through on Twitch and Beam, I could take something absolutely the wrong way. Yeah, but and there's Dark Soul Omega. PC has gone too far. If I'm a PC person, I might take that the wrong way and start attacking him for no apparent reason. But he's just basically
whereas
pointing
it
out,
could just be an honest opinion,
it could
just
be an honest
nice
opinion.
and calm.
So there's no real way for them, for VR, to really go ahead and set up GMs that take care of this and support and ban accounts and stuff. It's going to come down to us in general. Use your profanity filter if you're not happy with reading certain words, and use the ignore
Try to
button.
be understanding to some people.
And
There are obvious trolls.
Yep. So,
but there are some people that are just honestly not very good at getting their point across. I'm one of them. I have a hard time writing down my thoughts. So sometimes I do it wrong and it comes off horribly.
The one thing that we're missing also is, I think, especially in a lot of these newer games where they have the voice chat interacted with the interface, we possibly could see less and less of this type of stuff, because you're going to be in voice chat more than typing. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So if a scenario like that was to happen, you're most likely going to say it in voice chat to your guild or whatever, and everybody that you normally would group with would be more compassionate. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be, I think it's going to be different than what it was 15 years ago or even 10 years ago than it is today and tomorrow.
Be grown up. If you feel offended by something somebody said, like Lex has already said, whisper the dude and say, look, either I'm misunderstanding what you said, I find it disrespectful. If he trolls you back, then you know that he's an idiot. There you go.
Ignore him.
Ignore him.
Done.
That's the best way to go about it. There's a question brought up in chat from Yalai or whatever. Oh God, I'm slaughtering these names. Would you think a PvP or PvP is toxic? For me personally,
it has more potential to be toxic.
yeah,
But it still comes down to the players.
Exactly.
I have actually been on PvP servers that have had the absolute most wonderful people.
Yeah.
But I've also been on PvP servers where I would have rather had sexual relations with a cactus than to play on that server again.
and that's the thing. Is the general consensus of PvP for anybody that has never been on a PvP server or witnessed a certain game on PvP would say PvP people are toxic because they don't know any better. Because
Right.
that's what's generally been witnessed.
Well, to get off the downer topic, I'll sum it up real quick. It all comes down to this. If you see toxic behavior, don't participate in it. Show your support to the people who are the targets. Distance yourself from the trolls. Be understanding to each other. Be a good community. Be a community that you are proud of.
And I think that just because like reputation and stuff like that, those type of people are going to filter themselves out anyways.
They will eventually.
Especially if we're a strong community. If we're a strong community, and you know what I'm saying. Whatever, they're going to filter themselves out.
And you know,
just because some random player is calling you names over something that you said that might or might not be wrong. Well, Lex got your back, and that guy's an idiot. There, you win.
And the thing is, as well, you know, somebody that's a troll, you know, he can hide behind his avatar, behind his character, create a new character. They will always be filtered out again. You know, once you've identified a certain, you know, this person, he's gonna show up again, and you know, you're gonna get a touch and feel and know exactly that this is this same person. I've seen it happen thousands of times in the games.
Right.
You know, you filter these guys out because they have a general behavior pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they can hide behind whatever character they want. You know, they're going to be identified right away. Anyway, let's get on to nice stuff, shall we?
A lighter topic.
Yeah, a lighter topic.
Yeah.
So,
anyways, we love everybody.
Yep.
We love
everyone. We get along with everyone.
Halfling.
Well, evidently, Lex loves cactuses. I'll leave that out there. You know.
So, let's bring up the latest screenshots, because there are quite a few this week. And the first one is about what we were talking about earlier on, the tweet. And you see, there's a rug underneath that table, guys. And I was the only one who saw it. I'm very disappointed that nobody saw that round rug. But that's a screenshot of...
I'm sorry, but rugs don't trip my trigger.
It's underneath the chair, and underneath the table, you can see it.
They need to turn that.
You got to turn up your gamma a little bit to see it.
So that's one of the screenshots. You've got crystals on the wall. You know, I'm guessing there's something got to be there. You know, why would they? You know, why would a table just be there? For the guard sitting around, his lunch break? Nah, there's got to be something there. That's one of the screenshots that we were privy, all of us in the community, to get. And then Brad himself posted 2 tweets with screenshots, and it's the first
These are
one.
amazing.
And
Awesome.
you can see more weather lighting effects in this screenshot. I think this is Avendir's Past Thrown Fast. A screenshot. You got the sun coming up, and looking pretty
Didn't
good.
Didn't he say Thrown Fast is coming along? Wasn't that his tweet or something?
Yeah.
Thrown Fast is coming along.
Yep.
So these are Thrown Fast.
So you got the sunset coming up, and
let's face it.
I mean, look at the lighting, dude.
Yeah. The lighting looks pretty cool. You can see, you know, basically you got this kind of misty look on the mountain hills and everything, so that's pretty cool. And there's a second shot where it's even better. I'll bring that up right now. Actually, I think that's sun down. I think that's actually the sun coming down. You can see the lake.
Well, there's no compass, so you can't tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to guess, basically. You know, for some of us, it's the sun going up. For some others, it's the sun going down. And for some others, it's how it is. That's how the weather is. But it's looking
All I
good.
can say is God rays. You can see just a hint of the rays.
The water.
Oh, God.
The sun shining off the bottom of the water, just like a real lake, you know?
I see that screenshot, and it screams to me, explore.
Mm.
I mean, I don't care what my race or my class is. I don't care. I want to get in there, and I want to just run around.
The thing that gets, that I like to point out is the forest in the background looks like a forest. Not like what we've seen in multiple games before, where you have the odd huge massive tree, boom, put down there, and then another boom, put down there. Because they're two massive oaks, it looks like a forest. No, they've actually built a proper forest. Because that's what I've always, that's what kind of really aggravated me in EverQuest too. In Antonica, you would run through Antonica. There was only one forest, real true forest in that game, in Antonica. And that was next to the Claymore. That was the only forest you had. And I was expecting to see trees everywhere. And that's what we've seen it in the streams as well. The
lumbering went too far.
So, see, and I'm just reading in chat, Yelena, or whatever that is. I kind of agree with that. I mean, we're seeing a lot of Throne Fest and what's the other city next to the Throne Fest? Pictures and tweets and Black Dagger Keep and whatever, but I want to see the Ogre City. I want to see, the dwarves. I want to see the snow. I want to see, like, you know what I mean? I mean, I know it's slow. I mean, I'm getting excited. I get hyper, but
it would be nice though. It would be, Alex, I'll let you finish in a minute. It would be nice for them to give us tidbits, even if it's only a work in progress. Show us, something small. Show us a tree from a different zone. Or the different texture of a zone, that alone, those kind of little things, little hints.
I mean, they did have some
how
trees
pictures or how the grass is different from zone to zone.
Yeah.
But I mean, can you imagine this?
Go on then.
Imagine this. You're walking through the forest. That forest right on the other side of that lake there. And all of a sudden you get like a small little bit of particle overlay on your screen where you can see dust in the rays of sunlight. I would grab a hold of my monitor, smear my face up against the screen, and be like, "Oh my God, look at this!"
Yeah.
You are getting a little frisky today, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Making out with your monitor, humping cactuses. I mean, come on.
And then,
hey, don't judge me.
And then I brought the next screenshot, and it's not really a screenshot. It's from the interview that Madaki did with Corey Lefevre. And you can see then basically this seems to be some kind of dungeon. And when I looked at this, me being a landmark player, it looked like us falling through the world and going into the cavern caves. And it looks pretty cool. You can see how this cavern, this cave or whatever it is coming together. And you can actually see some technical stuff on what they're trying to do there. You have little purple dots, which I'm guessing might be, nodes or something like that.
There's a boss. So there's a boss right there, Wraith boss.
Yep. So we know there's a Wraith boss. We know that there's a Wraith boss.
Start drawing your hand maps now while we got this.
Yeah.
Yep. Wraith boss, armored, HPC door armored. So there's an armored. Seems to be a powerful door there. Ratkin, Wraiths, undead, Black Dagger. So obviously this is from Black Dagger Keep. And this is
from the Unity stream, I believe.
Yep, and there's a layer called Vermin. So, yep, this is actually Halnir Pass Cave main, as you can see at the bottom here. So this is actually from Halnir Pass Cave, and the technical side. But when I saw this, it was kind of funny. It reminded me of Landmark when you fall through the caverns, which is pretty cool. It was fun to do. And then we have a concept art as our final screenshot. That was also part of that interview. It's a new cleric concept art that was introduced during the interview with one of the community. That looks pretty cool. I like the concept arts. I have to say, they're not really clear, but they have a very interesting approach as to how they're designing their concept arts. It's really, really cool. Definitely cool.
All I'm going to say is that must be a Dire Lord. He's going for the face.
It's a cleric, dude.
Never.
It's a cleric. It's called cleric hit. That's how a cleric hits, dude.
You mean a cleric gets hit?
Nah, that's actually a Dire Lord getting hit in the face.
Ah.
Yep. So that's the screenshots. Quite a few of them put out there the past week. And now we're going to move over to other news. And this Thursday on the VoT show, we are going to talk about general tank discussion. So, Alex, you want to go and elaborate a bit on the general tank discussion? What people can expect while I set up the other part?
Yeah, basically, we're just going to go over some of the lesser known facts of tanking, how different tanking styles compare, what we might expect to see from some of our Pantheon tanks. Because let's face it, most general MMOers who don't play tanks are always surprised when they actually get around to playing a tank and how in depth it really is. Mm-hmm. And in the grand scheme of things, it's such a thankless job because you've got to know so much information, and you've got so much just riding on your shoulders that people seem to wonder why there's always a shortage of tanks on almost every game.
And not only that, guys, make sure you hit us up in what is this thing called? Discord. With some ideas, things that people, interesting changes that you would like to see with tanking rather than just kick and taunt.
If you have tanked in multiple games, tell us what game that you like tanking in and why. Mm-hmm. What things, maybe it's time for a change.
Yep. Awesome. So the next one is Throwing Fast Steps, a landmark project that has been done. And you guys all remember this video, which is coming up. This is from the Unity stream. And this inspired me to go into Landmark and try and build again. I'll let you, quickly run through this video. This is the Throwing Fast Steps that we got to see in, on the Unity stream that they did. And I went ahead, logged into Landmark, and tried to recreate this as good as I could. It's not 100% finished yet, but I'm getting there, and I'm going to show it off to you guys. Maybe inspire some other people to do stuff, have fun creating stuff and everything. So this is first of all a screenshot of how my progress is.
It's like his pants is on fire.
On the stream. And let me bring up the game itself. As you can see it here on the stream. Get rid of that. Go into the game itself and show it off to you guys. So this is my progress. I'm trying to build as much as I can of the surrounding area. That's why you have all the green here. I'll give you an overview look of what I've come
and just
up
to let
with.
everybody, he's been streaming it too. So if you want to watch him build it, you guys can always watch him while he streams it too. So
this is how far I've come. I hope to have it finished fairly soon and then get story put down and stuff like that. So if anybody else out there is in Landmark and wants to have a look at this or has an idea or anything like that, get to it. Build. And I'll turn on. Let's turn on this. I actually added something. I actually added something. Let's go and get Aradoon attack. This big, massive, giant monster. And then we have the Throwing Fast guards engage on him.
Fancy.
These guys are tough, So this is what I've been doing, to relax and chill out a bit. Try and killing time. So there's plenty of stuff people can do. You can build stuff, you can draw stuff. Would love to see some of the stuff you guys are doing, thinking about. This monster's tough. Look at him. He's going through these guards like butter. That's what I've been doing. This is my Throwing Fast. Obviously, you can't always be 100%, but I tried to get as close as I could. And underneath, I have my other project going for Throwing Fast. So it's going to be fun to see how far I can get. I thought I'd share this with you guys. Some of the stuff we've been doing.
Yeah, if you guys play Landmark or Minecraft or any of these other builder games and you've got a build to show off, let us know.
And last of all, the German community has released the first official fan site for Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. They've got their own forum for the German-speaking people. They've got their own wiki going, their own Twitter. There's a Discord. They have their Facebook site, a YouTube channel, which is pretty awesome. It's about time we spread the word in different countries. And
That's right.
they've done a nice setup here, the translations and everything. So it's getting spread. The word is getting spread around. Still pretty
Hats
much
off.
a work in project.
Good job to our German brothers and sisters.
Yep, definitely. Back to here, and that's basically the news for today's show. We said there was a lot, and there was, and we still made it in time, within an hour. We got all of that put in an hour. Awesome.
Even with our little sidebars.
Yeah. So join us Thursday, everybody, for general tank discussion. I'm sure Lex is going to have a lot of notes. He's going to talk. He's going to be the only one talking in that show. We're just going to add a few bits and pieces here.
I expect Kodiak to be there like... uh-huh.
I'll throw in dumb ideas, like always.
Yeah, like Kodiak already said, if you have any ideas towards the show, or in general, any idea, join our Discord channel. We have a forum channel actually called Pantheon Ideas, where anybody can contribute. Throw in something wild, crazy, even if you think it's absolutely insane. We love to hear about those kind of ideas. The more crazier,
and the devs have recently started reading that area.
Yep. So
gives us stuff to talk about. Yeah, stuff to bring up to the community.
And it helps us as well generate our shows, and helps us come up with some ideas and some talking points in the shows as well. So everybody's welcome to contribute and help us get better at our shows, and make them more interesting, this, that and the other, and more engaging. So join us for Thursday, 4 PM, same channel. Do
we have a link for the Discord channel that we can throw up in chat for anybody that doesn't have it?
Yeah, sure. Hang on. I'll grab that right now, and I'll just throw it into my
I believe it's up on the website now too.
Is it?
Should be on the bottom right, in the footer, where it says "Connect to us."
Ah, yeah.
Or connect with us.
Okay, so here's the link anyway. That's the link to our Discord. Join us. Talk to everybody. We have an awesome bunch of people within the community on our channel, talking every time. Just hanging out, chilling, throwing around ideas.
Although we are running a guild for in-game, you don't necessarily have to join.
Yep, exactly.
We're more concerned about people coming, having a good time, chatting, shooting some ideas back and forth.
It's a social thing that has nothing to do with the guild.
Yep.
There's absolutely no pressure.
Exactly. Just hang out with us,
Yeah. Even if you are already in another guild or run another guild, please join us.
Garnilla needs friends.
You've got nothing to lose. Yeah, there's nothing to lose from joining and maybe making some friends.
Thanks, guys. Thank you
Awesome.
for letting everybody know that I need friends. So with that, we'll see you all next Thursday, coming Thursday, for the general tank discussion. I can't wait. I have played a tank myself, and I do have a bit of passion towards this topic as well. So we'll see you next Thursday.
Awesome.
With that, good night, guys.
Good night.
See you guys.